Hey, good morning to Awakenings Within. But I have another song for you.
Oh, you
We get in
do?
trouble. Yeah,
I was getting into it, and then you
I
stopped it. It's
know.
like, great.
Now listen to this song. This is like a song.
We'll put it up by the mic so we can
I
hear it.
am. When it starts going, you'll be like, oh, turn it down.
No.
I don't know if you guys are ready for this today.
Striper.
No, well, it's kind of like that. Here we go. Look at it. I do not own the rights to this song. You know if my orange beers are ready for this.
Uh-huh.
This is a Christian song. Here we go.
Wow, rocking out on the 21st of December.
Isn't that cool?
As you're transitioning out of fall into winter, Sandy's rocking out with it.
I am rocking out.
You're
Holy
just,
Ghost.
Yeah, that's good.
So good.
At least you're in a mood. I've been a little bit concerned because I just haven't seen a lot of Christmas posts in the social media world. I mean,
oh no.
Well, usually around this time of year, people are very festive, and there's a lot of Christmas posts and whatever. And so I've been trying to put up decorations and things, whatever. But,
yeah.
But on my Facebook page, not in my house or my apartment, I should say. But okay. I'm just a little concerned, because it's and I understand. I mean, it's a bit of an odd season right now, and I think people are trying to figure out exactly what to do.
Yes. So good morning, Larry, Heather, and Michelle. Thanks for joining us. Did you like the song? Just curious. I feel the same way. So I posted one yesterday myself. I saw yours, and I said, you know what? I haven't seen it either. And it's almost, remember the whole, Jesus is the reason for the season was all over. I haven't seen that hardly at all this year.
Right.
It's very concerning to me personally. And so I wrote a post myself because I think there has been a weird shift. And I don't, and I'm not saying negatively, but there has been some sort of, I don't know if people, I don't know where they're at. You guys tell us where you're at.
Yeah.
Hi, good morning, Michael. Good morning, everyone.
I've been wondering, obviously we're in a situation with this whole COVID thing that is unlike anything anyone has ever experienced in our lifetime. Now, my mom's generation and the older generations, they've already been through this, but for those of us that are probably 70 and under, we're in a new sort of environment that we're not used to. I mean, frankly, we've had a pretty cushy life, and we've had our hard seasons and disappointments and stuff, but in terms of safety and prosperity and abundance, we've lived large. Larger than any generation ever. And then suddenly now we're faced with this. Excuse me. We've been faced with this situation, and I'm a little concerned though, because I'm hoping people aren't letting that situation steal from them the joy, the meaning, the significance of this whole Christmas season, Oh
yeah, I got Grinched last night myself.
Oh, did you?
I did.
What happened?
Well, I was off of quarantine on Saturday.
Oh, you were?
Per my medical doctor, and because even though I didn't get tested, I got tested later in the whole thing than in the beginning. So my quarantine was up. Seemed like anyway. So I got Facebook shamed that I was out and about around people.
Oh,
Though I was
no.
out with a mask on outside,
Wow.
taking pictures of lights and things.
Right.
But hey, that didn't matter.
Wow.
And per my own medical doctor, I was able to be, out and about. So that was interesting. He came on my page and kind of just, gave me a little,
sorry.
Didn't you just get tested? Didn't you, questioning my medical stuff. Well, my medical stuff is personal, I still fall under the HIPAA rules. I hate to tell y'all, and if you think, who in the world, is it's just a galling thing, it's like, what? Are you kidding me right now? And so, anyway, so I kind of commented as I did, and I shouldn't have, I was going to ignore it and I didn't. And it just upset me because it's like, I had such a great day because I'd been quarantined for, such a long time, that it was like, wow, somebody's like mad that I'm outside enjoying Christmas lights at the plaza around no one or, with my mask on, even though I took pictures without it, or whatever, and by myself. But I came up against that again because, apparently I'm the super spreader of Kansas City. Just want y'all to know that.
That's what I told you. There's Typhoid Mary
and there's
COVID Sandy.
There's COVID Sandy. I mean, I just am like, what? And Larry's starting on the diamonds again. Here we go. Morning, Diamond Michael. They are just.
Well, you know what? I want to not drop the subject that because there's something there, but I do want to acknowledge the fact that one of our listeners had a significant birthday this weekend.
Yeah,
we love you dearly. I'm sorry I didn't get to come to your party, but
either.
I'm dealing with my own issues.
So, I'm sorry.
But anyway,
I didn't
she had a very significant birthday this weekend. But since we don't divulge women's ages on our show, we'll just say she's significant. It was significant, and Mike did a great job of honoring his wife. And so we love you, Tina. You're a true gem, and we all appreciate your love for others because you certainly have it.
Yeah, she's amazing, and I would have went, but my quarantine wasn't expired until midnight that night, so I wasn't allowed to go. So I was
one of the things,
very conscientious.
Again, not wanting to tout my book, but one of the things that I've been trying to warn people of is that we're quickly moving into a world where we're monitoring everything. We live in glass houses now.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially if you're on social media. I made the mistake of doing everything.
One of the things people are going to have to start making a choice about is, how do you want to live? Because I got to be honest with you, even though I know where things are headed and what's coming, I'm torn because I enjoy the interaction doing this. I enjoy the social media, and I enjoy, because we're made to be relational. So I enjoy all that. The dilemma, as we're starting to, it's unbelievable, but people are just starting now to ask the question, what's Facebook, Google, and Amazon doing with our information? Even though we've been down this road for 2 decades, they're just now. And to be honest with you, if anybody actually dug deep and scratched under the surface, I think they would be absolutely astounded with the algorithms and what Facebook does in terms of how it monitors each of us and has.
I want to see what my avatar looks like.
What's that?
I want to see how they made my avatar look. I wonder what my avatar looks like.
They actually have algorithms that study our personalities, and then they sell that to marketers.
Yeah.
So, but not only do you have the tech companies all having their tentacles deep into our personal lives, then you have the greater society doing to you, by virtue of we're in the public sphere. So now you got people who may not even have a relationship. Like, I really am blown away about how people that you don't even know, you've never met, will jump on your little community and jump into your little community and come at you with really strong opinions. And I think of the old adage, you don't drive 10-ton trucks over 1-ton bridges.
Yeah.
Well, the social media world does that all the time.
Yeah.
And so we have these offenses, right? When you drive 10-ton trucks, 10-ton words, 10-ton issues, 10-ton, weighty things across either no relationship or a very shallow relationship, just by the nature of the dynamic, it's going to crash. It's going to collapse.
Yeah.
And yet people seem oblivious and do this all the time. This
was a friend of my ex's that did this to me. And I was like, I felt like saying stuff, but I didn't, because I did try to keep the high road.
Right.
But it was really hard. But mugs up, everyone. And I have my mug that says "You were made for this."
Okay.
So
what's this?
You were made for this. I mean,
what is this?
The time is now.
Okay. You were made for this.
You were made for this time.
Got it.
You were made for all of this.
Okay.
So yeah, we have to keep our hope. We have to keep our faith. And like you were saying, that people are not very festive, and it's And Heather, thank you for having my back. Heather came after the guy for me. So that was nice.
Heather on my team. That's all I know.
Huh?
I want Heather on my team.
Heather's awesome.
Heather's one of those people. When she's for you, she's really for you.
Yes. Hey, good morning, Monty.
I would define Heather with the word loyalty.
So Monty's in a wonderful, beautiful place. He's in San Fran.
Okay.
So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. And they're fighting over the diamonds. I guess, Michael, are you the only one with a diamond today? Because, those in the diamonons, I just don't, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Exactly. I looked this weekend to see if I could help.
So what you need to come up with is a disclaimer and say the hosts of this show are not responsible for the distribution of diamonds.
Of diamonds.
Right? I don't control come up with some legalese term that you can just keep posting.
Yeah. I mean, I got one this morning from Lord of the Dance. They said I was a top fan. Did I want my badge? Now, if you don't accept your badge, you don't get it.
Exactly.
So I had to accept it. So the next time I go on there and I post, it gives me a diamond.
Right.
Like that matters.
So we can be really corny and go, all of you that are join us on the show are diamonds to Sandy and I.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. See, look, that's what Heather just said. I'm over diamonds. I am a diamond.
There you go. See, Heather's got it.
Exactly. We know you're diamonds. We love you.
Exactly.
You're diamonds. So there, hey, Dr. B, go Chiefs. That's right. Go Chiefs. Oh, I see you're wearing a Chiefs hat.
I put my Chiefs hat on not only because it's red for the holidays, but because the Chiefs won yesterday.
Yes, they did.
And I was particularly, excuse me, I don't know, I got a tickle in my throat this morning. I was particularly happy about the Chiefs win because they defeated the New Orleans Saints.
I know.
Which are in a competition with the Packers
your guys
for the #1 seed. So I was a double winner yesterday.
So you were I was wondering. Yes.
So it gives the Packers a pretty firm hold on the #1 seed, which means if they keep winning, you have to go to Lambeau Field in the cold winter and play on their turf.
Okay, now Dr. B is saying about diamonds, and then Michelle comes back with we are all diamonds. Okay, you are all diamonds. I'm just saying. So mugs up, everyone. What do you got in your cup? What are you drinking?
Well, I got 2 cups. I got my coffee cup, but then I got a tickle in my throat, so now I got water too.
I see that. So let's get back to your original point about not seeing as many festivities and that kind of thing. So what do you I see what the issue is, like we just talked about. Maybe COVID does have something to do with that, because we've really lost faith in lots of things this year, including our major things like politician. Well, I don't know if we had faith in that, but our politics, Then we lost faith in our medical leadership because there were so many different opinions, and that we were never clear on how this was going because they were never clear.
Right.
And that's almost understandable. So I don't know why people didn't give the medical community a break on that, because they really should have gotten a break on that, considering it's a new virus. But
well, yeah, but the problem is that we've all been raised in a culture where we're supposed to defer to experts, right? So
right.
we come from a culture where we have these academic elites that are supposed to be smarter than everyone else, and we've been in a year where our heads are on a swivel because all of these people that are either in positions of supposedly knowing or positions of authority or whatever, we've seen more duplicity, hypocrisy, double standards. I mean, we're talking across the media spectrum, the political spectrum, the entertainment world, the sports world. I mean, it's been absolutely
and the religious world. Yes.
So what's concerned me is yes, all those things are. I'm not trying to devalue any of that, because all those things are very important because they impact our lives.
Yes.
But the reality of it is we still are in control of most of our lives, right?
Yes.
And so what's concerning me a little bit is we're allowing these situations that are really outside of our control to control our world. And so I'm a little concerned, because it's like, wait a minute, just because we're having a crazy year and think it right, it doesn't mean we should lose the joy and the celebration of the Christmas holiday season. And I hate seeing people have it stolen from them.
Yeah, but
so I'm just encouraging you to don't let the bigger situation steal from you the joy. Now, granted, they're telling us all we can't be together for Christmas.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff, but we still have things we can control. So,
that was going to
celebrate it. Yeah.
I was going to bring that up though, because two major things that happen in the holiday season of celebration is getting together with family. And if you have a job that you can buy presents for people and do that. Lots of people changed careers this year. They changed jobs because they lost their jobs.
Right.
So there is one huge issue, is not being able to operate as normal or, half capacity. So a lot of people's financial situation changed. And so I think that had a lot to do with it as well. I don't think it was just, because that does control in a way, probably how you're going to go about holidays. But in saying that, and in my own situation is it does make you get away from the materialism of the celebration, right? And it does make you go more heart-centered, does make you go more family time, quality time centered versus giftings. I would rather have my children around me in a hug than a present. But
still, what you're describing is what we're still haven't got down to the meaning of Christmas. You see what I mean? Right. In other words, everything
I'm
you're
just talking about the surface. I'm talking about the surface. Yeah, I'm just talking about the surface things that we do traditionally.
The reason for the season, as they say, right, is we're celebrating the birth of a figure who transformed the world.
Yes.
Right. We're celebrating the birth of a Messiah, which means a deliverer, who delivered, right? So the whole reason for the season happens to be this celebrate, right? Well, that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In other words, what that's about is we've talked about this maybe in the past. Then with the Jewish people in the Old Testament, whenever there was a significant event, they would stack rocks, and the reason for that is they believed in memorials, and these memorials were there for future generations so that people would not lose touch with the story of God's deliverance, right? So at this place where these rocks are stacked up, God did a miraculous thing and delivered us from the oppressors, right? Well, in the same way, so is Christmas. Christmas is the celebration of the birth of the deliverer that delivered us from an oppressive thing. And that oppressive thing, of course, is our self-centeredness, our selfishness, our narcissism, right? And so the whole idea behind the season is to be selfless.
Yes.
To be others conscious, right? In other words, it all ties together when you start thinking about it, but somehow or another, I'm just concerned that with the bigger issues that are all surrounding us, that somehow we're getting caught up in that whirlwind and not taking back in our personal lives the significance of what this is all about. So,
yeah. Well, I meant mirrored Hanukkah, right? So that's where the gifting thing comes in, right? So that was a tradition of Hanukkah. Then I think we adopted that in Christianity, obviously because Jesus was
the massive amounts of Christmas gifts.
I think that's why
we're used to is a phenomenon that's only happened in the last 50 years.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Think about this. 2,000 years, right, of celebrating this thing, and it's only in the last. And the reason for that is because we come from a culture where we have great economic prosperity, and we've commercialized the whole thing, right? And so it's right now we're in this moment, and it's a perspective moment, meaning that a lot of times what happens is God takes us through these crises to bring us back to what is really important.
Yeah.
You can get caught up, right? You can get caught up in cultural things and it's like a wave of this is what's normal, right? And so we all, one of the guys I talk about in my book is a guy named Charles Mackay, who was a historian and sociologist. And Mackay discovered through history that there's these moments where civilizations get caught up in these absurd assumptions that in hindsight, you look back and go, this is insanity. Like, this is madness, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's when you're in the middle of it, you don't know that it's happening because everyone around you is reinforcing the madness. Like, madness is normal, right? We're all crazy. So I'm just saying right now, it's a really good season to just step back a little bit and take back control of your life and realize that, hey, this is the time to celebrate, even in the midst of a crisis. And what are we celebrating? We're celebrating the birth of a very significant figure that transformed our lives, and we're celebrating our families. It has really zero to do with gifts.
That's right. But somehow in our American culture, we have made it that.
Yeah.
I remember a friend of mine, I would walk into her house around this time and my jaw would just drop because she had presents from the Christmas tree to the front door.
Right.
That many. Like, she had to stack them and I'd be like, what are we doing here? Like, what is going on here?
Well, I've been doing a little experiment.
Why do you have all of this? It was like, whoa, I came from a pretty, meager background. And so I think, I don't know why, but 5 is the magic number in my head, in my household. Like, you got 5 different things. That was it. And one would be a pajama thing. One would be it was very specific. Like, you probably got 2 toys and the rest were practical things. And so in my head, as I went forward, like we do in any tradition of anything, then of course I used that number for mine, my kids. So it's kind of like that's what was passed down, even though I probably could have got more than 5, right? But I only got 5 because that was stuck in my head. And so I think that's what we're taught. I mean, it's because of how I was taught, right?
Mhm.
Like, and when I was little, I didn't come from a very religious, I did a religious background, but it was only spoken about on Easter and Christmas. So I only knew who Jesus was at those times. He wasn't really spoken about the
Mhm.
rest of the year. I mean, I didn't understand, why my grandma sat with some beads and was, quietly praying, I guess, but I know I didn't understand any of that. So
Mhm.
it's unfortunate because I really wish she would have told me, at the time. That would have been nice if she would have shared it, what she was doing with the beads, or, what she was saying or doing. So it just it's it depends on where your background is and what you're coming from.
Right.
But I say that, but there's a transformative moment in your life. Usually there's a calling. I think
Mm.
God calls us all the time. He calls us to come up. He calls us to rise up. He calls us to recognize things.
Mm.
And it's just listening to the promptings of that. I had my first prompting at 7, then again at 18, then again at 20, whatever, then again at 30. And then, it's all
Mm.
the time, he's prompting us all the time. It's just that those were the key moments that I heard him,
Right.
and those are the key moments that I had to focus in on who he was and what he was calling me to do and what he was calling me from,
Right.
usually from the ashes, usually through a crisis. I could hear him the best and the most through crisis, which is
Right.
now, I think, for our whole world,
Well, it's
like
interesting
they could
because,
only
again,
hear him.
remember, what we're talking about is our version of normal, right? So, and our version of normal is an American perspective, right? We're, and because most all of us are on the show are all Americans, we have
Right.
this worldview that our version of big Christmases, or with gifts, is normal,
Yeah.
and yet that doesn't happen in the rest of the world.
No.
Right? In other words, people from the outside looking in, frankly, are kind of jealous of our American Christmases because they see these trees with just gifts everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's like,
So
wow. So all my point in all of this is, right now we're in this interesting season where this is a very different Christmas from any Christmas any of us have ever had.
right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So what
yeah.
there's things that it's not normal. So we're in an abnormal situation. What's abnormal is all the things surrounding us. The
Yeah.
meaning for Christmas hasn't changed.
No, it
The
hasn't.
reason for the season, none of that's changed. Unless we've sadly lost someone during the COVID thing, our relationships are still the same. So there's a whole lot of things, right?
Well, they are and they aren't. I
You
don't
know,
I don't know. Just like me, who's COVID has changed the way you think about people. Apparently. It hasn't changed how I think about people,
I've
but
been very fortunate and haven't lost anyone over the.
me neither. Well, I have two acquaintances. Well, one was a nurse of mine,
Yeah.
when I was a practice manager. She was the first death in Virginia Beach, and then another friend was in Norfolk. So, I've known of two people. They both had comorbidities. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, but it's changed the way that people think about other people. If
Mhm.
it's interesting. I've never thought of myself as a rebel,
Mhm.
but I have a feeling that my family, some family and friends think I am, because
Uh-huh.
I have lived my life. And it's funny, a friend on here, she mentioned that is because I kept living my life through this and not freaking out, you know.
Mhm.
And so people thought that I wasn't taking measures to be safe out
Mhm.
there. So, and I did just get COVID, for the first time
Mhm.
in the right? So in December. So it took me
Right.
from March till December to get it. So apparently I was doing something okay.
Mhm.
But it amazed me at your acquaintances and friends that the whole back to the shaming thing, and
Mhm.
and it's changed my opinion how I think people perceive me. I'm like, whoa, wow, everybody thinks I'm a rebel here.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I think it's changed my relationships. Because you were saying you didn't think it did, but I mean, acquaintance wise, it's changed my
Well, I'm just
relationship.
saying, my family is still my family. My grandkids are still my grandkids.
Yes, I'm so glad.
All my friends are still my friend. In other words,
That's true.
anybody and everyone that matters to me,
It hasn't changed that.
it hasn't changed anything. I've
Yeah,
been very fortunate. We haven't lost even my 94-year-old mom is still ticking,
I'm
which is
so
just
glad she
amazing to me. So in
yeah,
my world, um, the people that matter are still the
yeah,
people that matter.
yeah.
So that hasn't shifted.
Well, I've
It's
added
a
some special
whirlwind of things
yeah,
around me, right?
yeah,
So I guess going with this is that in the eye of the storm, in the center of it all, the meaning for this, the reason for the season, my important relationships, all that's is still there. That's
yeah,
that hasn't shifted. So therefore, I can still find joy
yeah,
and meaning and value and relate, right, and all that, and let go of the big. So I tell you a little something interesting. Part of the reason that I'm bringing this whole issue up is that I've been out and about town last week, right, and
mhm,
just out of curiosity, I started, I was doing some deliveries and different things and meeting people, and I would either say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. And I was
oh,
curious how people would respond.
wow,
You know what I mean? Like being, just, smiling and saying, well, Happy Holidays, right?
mhm,
Everyone, I'm talking about every single person, there was a stunned pause,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
There wasn't, oh, Happy Holidays back, right? There was this, huh? And then either people kept silent
right,
or they smiled and like lit up and went, Happy Holidays back to, like, they were so grateful that somebody, like, it was, so, you know what I mean? It's almost like we're not allowed to say that. You know what I mean? I was like, I felt like I was out there, and for some reason, you were not allowed to say Happy Holidays. You know what I
well,
mean? Because people were so stunned by my, you know,
yeah,
because well, again, I'm a stranger, so I mean, I'm sure that plays a little bit into it. But it was interesting. It was almost like people needed permission to be happy,
yeah.
and I
That
thought,
that's
wow, that's kind
that's
of
what's
sad.
happened.
What?
That's how the media has shifted our joy quotient.
Right? People feel guilty
Our
being
joy
happy.
quotient has changed. Yes. Like, don't be happy. I mean, that's kind of what happened to me yesterday. Like, I was
Right?
posting pictures of blues guy playing guitar, being happy, and how dare I be happy?
It's
Don't you
interesting,
do that, girl.
the sociology of that to me. Again, remember we're talking about, Charles McKay and groupthink and how
Yes.
cultures, right? And so
Yes.
I was just surprised, and particularly because we live in Kansas City, which is still a very Midwestern traditional values sort of civil. A lot of the big
Yes.
swirl, the big, dynamics of a lot of the protests and all that, that's all been on the periphery of the major cities
True.
on the coasts, right?
Right.
And here in the heartland, people are still very relational, and still, even here, people were taken back by happy, right? It
Yeah.
used to be even with merchants, right? Remember how you used to go into the store
Yes.
and people would say, there was a whole backlash. You couldn't say Merry Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So it became happy holiday. Well, this year they don't even say happy holidays.
No, I know. See, Tina says, she says, I'm Merry Christmas all the time. There were 8 carolers at the plaza last night on the corner singing, handing out. I don't know what they were handing. I think they were just handing out. I don't know what they were handing out. But anyway, I walked by them and I smiled, of course, in my mask. Of course, I don't know if they could tell I smiled, but I was like, yay. And then, the guy playing the blues guitar, just made me happy. Like, it was like, oh, it felt more normal than it has. That's why I had to get out. I went down to Union Station too. And, they have a Santa T-Rex.
Oh,
it's really cool.
I've heard the decorations are quite beautiful down there.
Oh, they're so beautiful. I went inside and they decorated the whole thing. There's photo op shoot, places around inside that you can take a picture at. But it's like there weren't very many people there,
right?
Which was kind of, well, it was during the Chiefs game, so
well, I
that would be why. But
concerned, and I don't know if any of our listeners feel this way, but I'm a little concerned that people feel guilty having a Merry Christmas.
Right.
In other words, it's like our culture is shaming us into
they are
can't be happy. Right?
They are. Yes, I had it happen. Exactly what you're talking about. It just rolled out on my Facebook last night. I was like, really?
Yeah.
I'm not.
And that concerns me deeply. This whole shame culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not right.
So I'm just saying, wait a minute. That's not right. You know what I mean? And so
it's not.
Don't let people shame you into not having a Merry Christmas, because the reality of it is that we're celebrating something that happened 2,000 years ago. It hasn't changed. I still have great appreciation for the gift that was given to the world.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
I'm
not going to suddenly decide not to be thankful and a Grinch because of the fact that, there's things going on. All of the things that matter still matter.
And the things that are going on has always gone on. It's all cyclical. Again, this is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. God made provision for that. He talks about it through all the stories in the Bible. All the stories are about the same journeys of having something, losing something, someone dying, gaining a role, getting successfully in your journey, being taken out in your journey. I mean, it's all kind of the same story, just different characters, right? So our lives are in that book. If you were to pick out one story and go, oh, I resonate with this character in the book, what character would you resonate with, Bob?
Joseph obviously is my guy. Yeah.
Really? I wonder why we would think that. Not everybody would get that though.
Joseph and Daniel are fascinating people to me. So
I resonate with David for some reason.
Do you? Okay.
I don't know why. David is I don't know. I resonate with David, but as far as women wise,
resonate with David partly. One of the things about David that you have to appreciate is he lives outside. He's an extrovert. Right.
Yeah, probably.
And he is what he is, good, bad, and ugly. I mean, he's out there, and you see him in moments of just glorious humility and then embarrassing arrogance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well,
failure. And so he's a great character, to look at because there's not a lot of secrets there.
Right. Well, see, there's David, but then of course I've also likened myself to the woman at the well. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but truthfully. So, I mean, I saw myself like that after I had marriages that failed, I was like, oh yeah, I could be that woman at the well,
Well,
very easily.
The points that I make in my book is the church world sometimes distorts the reality because there's such a focus on wholeness or holiness and right behavior. And yet the reality of the whole story, if you read between the lines, is everyone's broken and dysfunctional. And
Absolutely.
I'm talking about, we have, if you're Catholic and you go to the Catholic church, you have the stained glass windows with all of Jesus' students, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course their feet never touch the ground, and they're, they got a halo over their head, and you grow up sort of thinking that, these 12 men were extraordinary, right? And then you actually get in there and you read the story.
If you read it.
And you find out they're all broken and dysfunctional, just like everyone else. They're all competitive. They all got egos. They all want to sit next to Jesus. They all want to be the guy. You got Peter who ends up struggling with his whole life.
Yes. Denies him. Denies who he is 3 times.
Exactly. So the beauty of the Bible, I find, is that once you get away from the sanitized version, which is what a lot of people, they sort of under this delusion that if we can make everyone look good, then and make God look good, then I'll convince you, to follow God. And I'm like, no. The reality of it is
show them you're broken.
Friend of prostitutes and strippers and
political he was actually
and tax collect. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right. It was like he hung out, and it's hard for people to imagine this, but if Jesus would come back to America based on the New Testament, he wouldn't really show up at many of our suburban churches.
No.
He'd be like down in the inner city, right? Because what did he say? I didn't come for you that got it together.
Right.
I came for the broken. I came for the needy.
Which is everybody.
Right. Yeah. And right. And that's part of the journey, because those that have abundance wake up one day realizing, wait a minute, I'm as broken as the rest. And one place, I don't know if you've ever been to like a AA meeting or a drug rehab meeting. I have. But one of the things that's fascinating is you'll have, a guy, homeless guy, sitting in the same room with the guy that's a CEO of a company, right?
Right. It
right?
afflicts
They're
everyone.
on opposite ends of the economic spectrum.
It afflicts everyone.
And yet they're both broken.
Exactly. Monty says Don Quixote. I don't know enough about Don Quixote. Is that bad?
No, it's not bad. It's just that Don Quixote,
I don't know enough about him. Well, I don't think I ever read. I know there's a book. I know there's a movie. Yeah. I've never read it. Don't know.
Right. Well, there's a movie. You can watch the movie about it. But he's basically delusional. But he faces different things, and there's morals and all of the.
Not that you're delusional, Monty.
What's that?
He was saying he was like Monty.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. But no, it's a great read, because there's a lot of it's like a parable. You know what I mean? It's like Pilgrim's Progress or things like that. There's great discoveries and wisdom and meaning behind all of these things that he faces.
Yeah, So back to the story.
Which one?
Reason for the season.
Oh, the reason
for the season. Which it used to be that the reason for the season, and it's like he says, "How dare you unsubscribing?" You're funny, Manny. I was calling him Manny for a while, and I think I was supposed to be Monty. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Monty. He is so great. This guy. I met him in one of our live streaming things, and he's
well, my point in all of this is that it's very easy to get caught up into cultural or sociological waves, right?
Mm-hmm.
The group things, right? And so because we live in this social media world, we're being bombarded 24/7, 365 with all this negative news about all this kind, right? And so what happens is it's put a bit of a damper on everyone. And so again, people are shamed into thinking, well, it's the holidays, but we're in the middle of a crisis. So therefore, I can't be happy, right?
Right.
And I'm saying, no. Don't bite that apple.
That's like putting your light under the basket.
It's not true.
Right.
I'm trying to find a quote, and
well,
do you know who Viktor Frankl is?
Yes, actually.
Yeah. So Viktor Frankl, of course, was in a concentration camp. And one of the things that he writes a lot about is what kept people alive, and why do people fight to live? And he talked about the fact that it's about meaning.
Yeah.
Right. It's about what you're in search for meaning. And I'm just saying we have a big meaning right now.
Yeah.
Right. There's a reason for the season. There's meaning in this time. And we have to be very, very careful, because our culture and the bigger society is trying to take that away. I don't think intentionally, but because of the fact that so many of them don't have hope.
Well,
and those of us that do, we have to be careful not to let them, it's the old adage of pulling people down. There's a phrase in Zimbabwe, they call it PhD syndrome.
No, PhD syndrome.
Right? People, because in that culture there, everybody wants to have a PhD. They want doctor in front of their name. But there's a double meaning to it, because PhD also means pull him down.
That's interesting.
Right. And so we have to be very, very careful, because there's a PhD syndrome right now in our country.
Right.
You're seeing it everywhere. It's like, pull him down, pull him down, pull him down. Right.
Yeah. And
when I'm in your life, not to get pulled down into this.
Well, what I'm concerned about is that everybody is all accepting, and I wrote this in a post of mine yesterday about inclusiveness. Like inclusive is the new catchword for everything. You need to be inclusive. Okay. The only thing is watch how somebody, as soon as you say you're a Christian, how they treat you, and they practically just like shudder. Like they practically like, you said it, like it's a bad thing.
This is what
it's starting to really upset me. And so I'm like, okay, I'm about as inclusive as someone gets. And Jesus was inclusive of everyone. He was not exclusive. He was not trying to, he was trying to go to the people within the people. And he was trying to, speak truths to them. And it's like now everything else is accepted because it's worldly, because in the society, now we've made everything else accepting except for the Christians. It's kind of interesting to see the dynamics switch. Now, I'm not saying that in our Christian past, we haven't been that way to others, right? And so I'm trying to show, as a person here right today that's a Christian, that I am inclusive, that I am accepting, and I love everyone, because that's what Jesus came to do and say. He and unfortunately, man structures have gotten in the way of how we do that and how we say it and how to show it. So I am trying to all the time say, listen, you don't know me. You think, you're putting a label on me, and that's not correct. And that's like in any society, that's like in any label. I'm not saying it's just Christianity, but right now I feel like if you say you're not, people say I'm spiritual and not, Christian, because spiritual is more accepting somehow, but not saying that you're Christian. So, I mean, what do you think about that, Bob?
Well, one of the things that I wrote about is this whole fallacy of inclusiveness, because and I think people are starting to realize this, that there's this PC statement, right, that we need to be inclusive. But when you drill down a little bit and you get under the surface, what you realize is that, yes, as long as you are uniform and conform to my thinking.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like the diversity may
Yes.
be racial,
Yes.
right? It may be gender,
Yep.
right? It may be all those things. But when it comes to values, religion, right? Any of those things, suddenly the inclusiveness stops.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people are feeling confused, right? Because it's like they're seeing the duplicity, it's like, yes,
yeah, it's on both sides.
welcome
I'm not
all
saying
of you.
that.
We love diversity. We are very inclusive. But don't say that though. Don't think that way.
Uh-oh.
Right. So one of the things that, I don't want to be alarmist here, but one of the things that I've been watching is if you go back, and again, I'm a historian, so I've been very, very fascinated between the time period in Germany between World War I and World War II, because what ends up happening is that this group of people that are just, which were the Nazis, who were so lauded by the greater population because of the fact that they were restoring, German dignity and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
They needed a fall guy.
Yeah.
Right. If they were the good guys, somebody had to be the bad guys.
Right.
Right. Well,
yes.
Hitler picked the Jewish community.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So suddenly the Jewish community, which was a huge part of the economic, like these were some of the major drivers of the restoration of the economy, ended up being turned on.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm kind of knowing what you said earlier, that history repeats itself. I'm watching that because we're in a situation right now where that could very well happen here. Right.
Well, that I know.
Community ends up being the bad guys, and you're already seeing that by some of the statements that are being made. Vengeful, revengeful. We have to go get them. Right. And I'm watching all this, and I got red flags going off all over the place going, oh my God, history's repeating itself again. This is exactly the mindset that led to the Holocaust, that led. And I'm talking, this happened, all through history, even before the Holocaust. If you go back into Europe, you see this happening all over, and there's always this group of people, right?
Yeah.
Much of the Anabaptist world, which are the Mennonites, the Hutterites, the Amish people. They were Christians that were attacked, right? Who had to flee, right? And they were the bad guys. It's their fault.
Right.
Bad things are happening because of this group of people.
Right.
And so these are all things we just have to watch very, very, very carefully. And what's odd about it is the people that are supposedly inclusive end up becoming exclusive.
Yes.
And
against
the perpetrators.
Yes.
Right. In there again, remember, madness, right? Delusion.
Yes, I see it too. And honestly,
we're right, you're wrong.
Yeah, and honestly, has it crossed my mind that doing this show, like I'm like, oh, I'll be a target, first thing. And then I thought, okay, well, that's what I've picked. That's what's
again, we're not.
I want to get
there.
No, we're not there yet.
There, you know what I mean?
We're not there
so
yet.
I don't want people to panic and go, oh my God. I'm just saying,
no.
Watch what happens culturally. That's one of the reasons why there's been this backlash against cancel culture, because cancel culture ends up leading to bigger issues.
Yes. And that's
cancel culture is the precursor to genocide.
Yeah. And so
that's the extreme end of it, but that's where it goes.
Well, that's why I had to sit back and ponder this for this. I was like, am I setting myself up? Am I going to be a target? Maybe. But it comes down to what we were talking about, with Peter and denying. I'm not going to deny it. Are you going to stand up for your rights? Are you going to stand up for your values? Are you going to stand up? Where are you going to be in all of that?
Well, sometimes
I'm not going to just sit back and shrink. you know?
And these seasons of prosperity that we've been in for, 5 decades, almost, or maybe 6 decades, is that you develop a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
Right. You're in, and I'll post something later this week, but it's actually resistance that builds strength. And so you go through these moments like we're in right now, and your assumptions get challenged.
Yeah.
And you get things taken away from you. And so what starts happening is you go through this sort of soul inventory, and it gets back to what you were just saying, values. Like you start asking, well, what's really important to me? What do I actually value in my life? Because
so Michael said
I'm
he's
losing
going
things that maybe they're worth losing.
Yeah. Well, Michael, yep, you being top fan. What's going to happen? And yes, Michelle, stand on his word. Is it possible to pass my diamond to Larry and Heather? Oh, that's really funny. You're really funny.
So it's these seasons like we're going through right now, crisis reveals character, and we're going through a season right now where, things are just, our routines, our assumptions, our presumptions are all sort of being challenged. And I'm seeing it across the whole church world, where that's been hit really, really hard. And so that, normal, what was normal for decades is suddenly not there anymore. And so
in fact, it's like, oh, what? You go to church? What?
So it's a great season. And now we're in this, we're coming to the end of a year. We're in this, this season, where we're brought back to a moment in time that celebrates the life of someone that actually gave us meaning.
Yeah.
Right. He explained to us who we were and what we were about and what our purpose in life was.
Yes. And what's changed is the narrative on who he was and what he came for. And unfortunately, it's changed the narrative that if you follow that one person, that, again, we were talking about that inclusive word, is that somehow you are not accepting of other things.
The big shift, in my view, the really big significant shift that happened in the church world is that we said that, or where we are now, is that the reason he came is to give us what we want. He came for us, like he exists for us, right? And that's the narcissistic self-centeredness that's developed in our culture, because that's not true. We actually exist for him. We were created for his pleasure. And so we've reversed the polarity and the perspective on the reason for the season.
Right. And what's really funny about that in the narrative I've heard from a generation under us is that, why would God create people just to worship him? They don't understand why. Well, they think that's narcissistic. Right. But yet they're being narcissistic and wanting it their way and how they want it. It's just really, it's
well, again,
it's very upsetting.
In a world where where our kids and our grandkids, where they were raised as the center of the universe, they don't even, they have no context, no perspective, so they think their self-centeredness is like normal, like that's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
They really don't grasp the fact that they are a very unique generation in terms of their worldview, the way they think. And so anyways.
Well, like where you come from with farmland and whatever, like that kind of thing, people used to have all those children to help with the farm, right? So there was a purpose into them having all the children, because they could be.
That's what my dad used to say when I was like, didn't want to go out and cut the grass. He goes, "Why do you think I made you?"
Exactly. So we used to exactly. So, I mean, that really used to be the thing, like, you
Yeah.
had children to help with
Right.
chores at the house,
Well,
you
in
know?
the ancient world, you had
Yeah.
children because you needed to survive. It was
Yes.
about the tribe, and you
Right.
wanted sons because they could fight and they could
Right.
protect you.
Right, and,
So
we've
it's
changed that.
interesting how,
Everything now is like, "Oh,"
exactly.
But
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
we've
but
reached our
yes.
limit, my dear.
Oh, I know. So, if you guys listen to that music that I posted in the chat, I started it with it, the Holy Ghost song. It's a rocking song, but it's talking about the Holy Ghost burning it down, which is exactly what we're talking about, you know, let Jesus be the reason for the season. Find out who he is, figure him out, seek after him, read about him, whatever you need to do. A lot of people don't even say the word Jesus out of their mouth anymore.
Mm,
It's really right?
yeah.
They don't. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I mean, I know my group of friends, we do,
Yeah.
you do, we talk about, I'm a Christ follower. Well, I'm a Jesus follower. I mean, whatever that sounds like, whatever that looks like. And it's because I know what he did for me. And I know what he did for me. And I know that I need to strive to be that light for him. And exactly what you were talking about is we are here for his purpose, not for our own. So, find out what that purpose is and seek after it and please celebrate him this week and what he did. And
And we won't have a Thursday night show because it's Christmas Eve. So we should sign off by wishing everyone a what?
a Merry Christmas.
Exactly.
Merry Christmas, everyone. We love you all.
And don't let anyone steal your Mary.
Yeah. Steal
You
your
have
Mary.
a right to be Mary
Oh.
because it's a
I was
very
thinking of the Virgin Mary. I don't know. I was like, they're gonna steal Mary? What? No. I
So be
still have
Mary.
a
Don't
nativity.
be ashamed
Yes.
to be Mary.
Yes, please be Mary and spread it
We
around.
have a lot to be thankful for,
We
even
do.
though we're in the middle of a crisis. There are
Yes.
valuable and precious things in
Yes.
your world that are a gift from
Yes.
God. So be thankful, be merry, remind each other how much we matter to each other.
Yes. And if you all on here, I know you're gonna think I'm silly. Please send me your addresses. I need everybody's address. Anyway, send it in the private message, not on here. Okay, just saying, in a private message. But I'd like everybody's addresses on here if you can, if you want to share. So anyway,
Right.
I love you all and thank you. And Bob, thank you for being so awesome and I'm very grateful for you. And I hope that you have a Merry Christmas as well. So I will talk to you all soon.
All right.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay. Bye.